The title of this audio is Rules and if the Ineffectiveness of Rules. Out of the many things in society that I vehemently disagree with, perhaps one of the most unspoken stupidity of the things that it preaches is following rules. So, if I look at any domain from traffic rules, morals, uh, prevention of sexual harassment rules, being nice and courteous to stranger wale rules, how human beings operate in schools with rules, there are guidelines and principles to follow. Everyone tries to live up to rules. And when someone does not follow a rule out of all these different things that are given to a human being, they are punished. And if they follow, they are either rewarded or it's just left neutral. Now, whenever someone breaks a rule, everyone jumps onto the person, retaliates on him or her, and asks them, why did you break the rule? Now, in that very asking, why did you break the rule, they seek to get answers from the rule breaker. And they think after getting some valid, logical response from the rule breaker, they'll be quote satisfied. And then they will try to go to the court to try to justify who's fine and who's not. But the truth of the matter is, nothing really gets resolved. That's why, and upon this recognition that rules don't really solve anything, what the society doesn't realize is, oh, this rule that I've implemented on the human being, they don't seem to abide by it. And instead of seeing what's more effective, are rules effective or not, what they do is they implement harsher rules. And that doesn't stop people from doing what they want either. And that is just how, that is the limit, that is the cap till which a human being in a society thinks. When the truth of the matter is that anything that does not come naturally to a human being, anything that is done by force, which force basically means living up to an idea of a rule, he or she will eventually stop living up to that as soon as he gets the moment to get away with that. So let's say, for example, a person who's driving on the car, right? There are hundreds of traffic rules. Now, the thing is, the only reason the person is not speeding or racing is not because he's following some stupid rule that he's told. The only reason he's not speeding, racing, or crashing into some other car is because that will put his life to risk. Or even if it doesn't put his life to risk, if he for some reason crashes his car to some other person, that also puts him to the risk because he might get into an altercation and die while fighting. That is a self protecting mechanism ingrained naturally in a human, in its ingenuity. That was not a rule that he was following. That, oh, since it's not written speed limit, so I'll race till 150 and crash into a pole. Or let's say, for example, uh, uh, a person sitting in school and not going outside the classroom if he doesn't feel like to sit there. He'll still sit there And the only reason he'll sit there is not because he's following some rule to study and learn. The only reason he's sitting there is because he knows if he acts upon his urge to just get out of the room, and because he doesn't want to sit there will be consequences, and he'll get slapped by the teacher and condemned by the parents, and he'll face the wrath of all his stakeholders for not studying or following the rules of a good boy. So I truly think that if all rules were abolished in society, that would not really change in any way how the society still operates. And the reason so is because they will have their own self-protecting mechanism, and they will not hurt the other person or do anything that involves taking advantage of the other person, not because it's a good or bad thing, but because inherently they know if they try to hurt the other person or take advantage of them in any direct way, they will naturally face consequences and the wrath of that person who's going to hit them back, who's going to hurt them back. And that is what protects them from doing that. And the rule maker is the only one who quote benefits from the rules that he makes, not the people who are implementing it. But because it is so ingrained to follow rules in society, that when someone doesn't live up to a rule, let's say if someone gets slapped in a school, now naturally that person who gets slapped would want to slap him back as a fight or flight defense mechanism. Now that is not allowed to happen. A fist fight is not allowed to happen, which is actually natural, because there are rules implemented that you should not do this, should do this, XYZ. And because the person who has gotten slapped does not retaliate against the person who has slapped, the person, let's say the bully who has slapped, since it is not in his body registered the fact that his actions have consequences, which is that he'll get slapped back, he is still incentivized to take pleasure from slapping other people. And the person who wanted to slap has now been imposed the self-righteous good boy who doesn't slap back, who talks it out or shares it with his parents or whatever. So, for example, if in this scenario, both the people were just allowed to fight without stopping them, both would realize our actions have consequences naturally. But because the society wants to prevent that very first altercation to also happen, they implement rules. And the implementation of the rules, the human beings stray away from their naturalness. And in that straying away from that naturalness, you basically create passive aggression, ego, and ego in the sense कि आप बाद में revenge लोगे and all that silly nonsense that people do. So rules don't really solve anything. They prevent the first altercation from happening, whatever that thing might be. And in that prevention of the first altercation, they give birth to 1 billion problems, which is in the form of cleverness, in the form of corruption, in the form of finding circuitous routes to break the rules. Because if someone is getting pleasure from hitting someone, let's say in school, and if there are rules implemented that you'll be punished from hitting, that's not going to stop the person who wants to hit from hitting. He's just going to find ways to slap kids outside of the school premises so that the rules cannot be implemented. So that didn't really solve anything. Or let's say the person who wants to speed his car because it's fun to speed car, he just won't speed in the places where there are rules, but as soon as there aren't speed cameras, he's going to speed over there. Until that person wasn't naturally allowed to crash his car into someone where he would get in a fight, or would die or would get crashed and would be injured, he naturally, inside of him, he wouldn't know that his actions have consequences. So not only are rules ineffective because they don't really solve anything, they try to prevent the first altercation from happening. But anything that is not heartfelt, the consequences of their actions is not heartfelt and it's just intellectual, which is basically what rules are. There are intellectual norms to follow in order to prevent the understanding of the consequences going in their body, being felt in their body. That prevents people from naturally course correcting themselves, which is a byproduct of having a defense mechanism inside of you. But that later makes human beings corrupt, clever, and basically create all the grandeur problems that may happen in the future only because they were not naturally uh, given the permission to explore the consequences of their actions.